Good evening and welcome to everyone. I'm extremely happy to mention to you that this is the 63rd leadership conversation that ICFAI is hosting. And typically these things happen every Friday evening. And today we are joined by a very good leader, Ms.Manisha Saboo. Please join me in welcoming Manisha ji. Manisha ji, thank you. Thanks for sparing your time and agreeing to talk to us. We hope to learn a lot from you and make this a very, very interactive and useful session for the participants as well as ourselves. So what I will do is I will make a brief introduction of the guest and then hand over the mic back to her so that she can start with her talk and the initial remarks. So allow me to share my screen, please. As I mentioned, these are Wise Views leadership conversations. Leaders with years of experience share their wisdom every Friday evening on this platform, and we have been able to manage these conversations without any interruption for the last 63 weeks, and we hope to have a fantastic conversation now as well. Let me introduce the guest. As I said, Ms.Manisha Saboo is speaking. She's the campus head of Hyderabad Infosys campus. She's also the president of ICFAI. She's going to talk about accelerating your career journey to the top. That is her own perspective, that is business leaders' perspective. This session is going to be for about 60 minutes. The first 20 minutes is a talk by the leader, and the remaining 40 minutes is going to be a Q&A session moderated by my senior colleague, Professor Prasad, and myself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ms. Manisha Saboo. She heads Infosys campus in Pocharam, Hyderabad. This campus of Infosys is one of the largest IT campuses in the world, set up in approximately 450 acres, where roughly 35,000 associates work. It's a large responsibility. Her role involves managing all aspects for growing business in the campus, including enhancing client experience, employee right skilling, employee engagement, CSR, improving operational efficiency, managing relationship with industry, academia and government, etc. That's a pretty huge responsibility in itself. Infosys Hyderabad has been the largest IT exporter in state for the last 11 years. The center has also won prestigious Infosys Award of Excellence 10 times, which demonstrates brilliant and consistent performance. Ms. Manisha has been widely recognized. She has recently added another feather in her cap as the first woman president at ICFAI, which is the Hyderabad Software Enterprise Association, where more than 200 IT organizations, including Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, are members. It's a prestigious organization. Congratulations to you, Manisha ji, on being the president of ICFAI. She has addressed many schools and college students, especially in the girls' engineering colleges, which has motivated several students. In 2020, Telangana government had honored Ms. Manisha with Woman Achiever Award for Leadership in Corporate World. Ms. Manisha also contributed to society. She is passionate about CSR and has been instrumental in mobilizing multi-crore support from IT fraternity during the pandemic. The efforts were recognized by Telangana government in presence of iconic social worker Sonu Sood. In her mind, no good deed is small. Every step taken to build a better society counts. I mean, this is the philosophy with which she has operated all the while. Ms. Manisha's education journey started from a government boys' school in Maharashtra. Now she's alumnus of Stanford Graduate School of Business. Her papers are published in prestigious conferences worldwide. Manisha ji stays in Hyderabad in a large joint family and believes that she could reach stellar heights in her professional career because of the support she received from her family, where 4 generations live together harmoniously. So that's an amazing background of Manisha ji. We are extremely happy and delighted to have you. And with this, I will stop sharing the screen, but there's just one more moment I'll take. I welcome you, ma'am, and I'm sure the audience is eagerly looking forward to interact with you. I'll take one more moment to introduce my co-panelist, Professor Prasad. Professor Prasad carries a rich experience of 3 decades. He's currently the professor and course mentor. Otherwise, Professor Prasad has handled big ticket assignments within ICFAI. He was an entrepreneur. He has been a corporate leader and also a leader in academics in this 3 decades of rich experience that he brings to the table. He holds degrees from IIT Mumbai and IIM Kolkata and published several articles, edited books, and presented in conferences as well. Welcome, Professor Prasad, to you as well.
Wow, that is impressive. Dr. Prasad, I feel privileged to share the stage with you.
Wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am. It's equally and more of a privilege to get industry experience and have it shared with all our students.
Great. So with these, with this kind of people on the panel and the experience that the professionals bring to the table, I'm sure the discussion is going to be very, very interesting. All of you stay glued. I will now hand it over to Ms.Manisha ji, but I want to welcome the entire fraternity that has joined today, some senior members who have joined. We have Mr. Ramchandra joining from HMA. He's the latest President-elect of Hyderabad Management Association. Most welcome to you, sir. And many other friends who have joined from India and abroad, I can see, from all domains and all walks of life. I'm sure we're going to enjoy this session. Over to you, Manisha ji. Please start your opening remarks. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. 4:09, that's the time, and it's Friday. So I'm sure all of you are looking forward to weekend. How many of you are looking forward to weekend? Please put your comments, yes or no, you don't like weekend and you love the Monday only. So tell me whether you're looking forward to weekend in your chat box. If you're looking forward to weekend, please say yes there. Arun says, I love weekends. And Arun is the only one who is saying it. Not Natasha, not Ramchandra Garu, not Vishwanath. Guys, you don't like weekend? I'm at least looking forward to the weekend so much. And that's why this session is interesting, because this is my beginning of the weekend and beginning of investing in myself in some sense. Because during the week, we mainly focused on the work and working for the roles that we are playing, the multiple roles we play, multiple hats we wear. But weekend is a time when I invest in myself. So I really look forward to it. Why does it matter that I invest in myself? Actually, there was a time when I was talking to a competitor, and I was asking him that, okay, where do you invest your money? Because I was really worried that whatever I earn, I need to invest in the right instruments, let it be shares, let it be land, and because I wanted to secure my future. And this person told me, Manisha, the best investment you can make is the investment in yourself. How much of your income do you invest in yourself? Do you invest 5%, 10% by yourself, learning new skills, honing your skills, and improving your personality? So that investing in yourself matters. And when we were talking about this session, Sudhakar Rao told me that what should be the topic? I asked him, who are the audience? And he told me that typically 6 to 8 years experience people, and maybe some of them more than that, but usually that. I put myself in that phase of the career when I was having 6 to 8 years experience and was trying to understand what mattered to me the most that time. And I realized at that point of time, my only worry was that how do I grow faster? How do I get to the top faster? You know, that kind of impatience is there in that age and that phase of life where you want to move faster and you want to fast forward your career. So that maybe at that point of time, I didn't have anybody to tell me about what exactly should I do, and I learned it through experience. So if I could share some of my experience, some of my observations with the audience, it might help them to understand some of the things that they can do. I'm not preaching in this session. I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm just going to share my journey, my experiences, and you can decide what suits you. Any comments on so far, whatever we said so far in the chat box? Do you think this makes sense? Do you think this is what you want to hear from me? Please say yes if you are interested, and I really want to make it two-way. So it's important that I hear it from you in the chat box. Please respond. So Sridhar Garu, Vishwanath sir. Okay, Sulega says yes, they're interested. Arun Kalsal Garu says yes, of course. So what is my experience? What does my experience say? First and the foremost thing that matters is the core skill. Like whichever industry you belong to, whatever is your role, whatever is the domain or the skill that is key to success, that is the main thing that we absolutely must have mastery over. So it could be pharmaceutical, or it could be life sciences, it could be construction. So you need to keep keep upgrading your knowledge and keep understanding in the depth of the particular subject. So there is no alternative to that. There's absolutely no alternative that if you are in the tech industry, you need to be always looking at what are the latest technology trends which are emerging. 2 years back, we were all talking about data science and big data. Today, when I went for a meeting, they were telling big data and data science are not what exactly we want from our employees. We want them to invest in AI/ML. So all the continuous changing trends is a given for every industry, and it's important that we invest in that. And we learn and we go in depth. There's no alternative to that. However, is that enough? Many of you will be already doing that. You may be masters in your particular field, but is that enough for you to become a CXO or become part of the board or raise to the top? What are your experiences? May I know whether do you think that domain skill and being absolute expert in your field, only that part, is that enough? I would like to hear it from you that if you are master in your field, only doing that very well, will that take you to the top? Or is there something else needed? Will that take you to the top? Just the domain expertise, or just being expert in pharmaceutical or in your IT field, say for example, you are expert in Python, will that be sufficient for you to become CXO? Sridhar Raj says, yes, something else need to be learned. Vishwanath says that. Any other comments, please? Sulega, Natasha, what are your thoughts? Nagarjun, Sridhar Raj, multi-skilling. Okay, important. What I have observed is that if I have to decide on 3 things which are important beyond the domain, because if we are focused only on domain, then there are, say for example, AI/ML, let's take. So in your organization, say I come from Infosys. In Infosys, out of 300,000 people that we have, if you say AI/ML, there must be maybe 20,000, 30,000 people who will be experts in AI/ML. So it means that if you just look at the particular skill, while it's a hygiene, it's absolutely needed, that may not necessarily take you up the ladder. It may not fast forward your career growth. Is it needed? Absolutely essential. That's the hygiene, you must have it. But beyond that, there are certain things which are important. So what is that? First of all, are you the best kept secret of your organization? Are you the best kept secret of your organization, where yes, you have the best of the skills, but you're doing all your work, looking at your computer and just focus on working, keyboard. Or you are also visible, you are speaking up, you're talking in the meetings. If it is a physical meeting where people are in a conference room talking together, then are you sitting at the table? Are you expressing your views, or you feel that, I don't know what will people say, I'm not sure, maybe somebody will ridicule me if I say something, so it's better I keep quiet and I keep my views to myself. So how are you making your presence felt? If needed, are you preparing that, okay, I am going for the meeting, this is the topic, I have these 2 questions to ask, or I have these 3 views to give, or this is the takeaway that I'm looking for. If I don't get it, I'll ask questions and make sure I get a little more information on it. So are you stepping into the meeting prepared to contribute and to get have a very defined takeaway? Are you communicating with people? Are you networking? One of the most important things for success is when you have a good network. You connect with people. Your contacts are your strength. Sometimes people say your network is proportionate to your net worth. Okay, your network is proportionate to your net worth. So you need to connect with people, you need to network, you need to take every opportunity to interact with people whenever possible. So don't become the best kept secret of your organization. That's what I learned along the way, that I should talk, I should go out more, I should interact more, I should voice my opinion, I should be visible. And so I told you a tip related to in-person meeting, that how do you talk, sit at the table and be visible, listen to people, encourage people. You don't need your own opinion always. Even if somebody is giving good opinion, you can just say, yes, I agree. That's a very good suggestion or very important opinion. They will remember you and they'll notice you. So even without doing anything, you are noticed. Now, a tip about such kind of meetings, the virtual meetings. In the virtual meetings, don't log in and disappear, because that is not a good idea. Like, I'm asking multiple times that give me your opinion, tell me about it. So the people who are communicating, two-way communication is established, I remember them better, right? Or if you are attending this meeting and if you are, in your organization, you may be able to switch on the video. There are 10 people who are not on video and you're on video, people will notice you. So dress professionally, find a good spot and switch on the video, people will notice you. Small tip, but really works very, very well. Okay, so that is about, don't be the best kept secret of your organization. People should notice you, people should relate to you. They will stand by you if they know you exist. If you don't even exist, how will they nominate you? How will they support you? The second thing which I have seen typically is that when I go for meetings, when I see people around me, especially the youngsters, there are all hands meetings. There are sometimes hundreds of people in the room. But out of that, the people which I remember are the people, or the people who I pick up for working with me after the meeting also, where I connect with them, I involve them, I encourage them, I give them opportunities, are the people who spread positivity. It's good to be devil's advocate. Sometimes you get into that opposition party syndrome, where you feel if somebody is speaking about something, you have to give some devil's advocate, some absolutely negative. Yes, we appreciate it. I'm not saying every time you have to be that yes sir person, but at the same time, how do you express your opinion so that it doesn't come like you're fighting or you're trying to be the devil or the devil's advocate? Sometimes the lines are very thin. If you become devil's advocate every time, as soon as people see you, they will say, oh my God, now this guy is here, is a triple maker. So that kind of image is not going to take you anywhere. So how do we create some positivity, say some positive comments, and amplify the positive impact, in the sense that, say, you don't need to have your own opinion also. The leaders are always looking for somebody to tell them what is being discussed on the coffee tables, in the cafeteria, in the normal conversation. So if you have some positive things that you have heard about, some things which the organization is doing, you can always tell them that, you know what, my friends are talking about this. This is what I heard. So actually, you are not seen as a yes person. You're even not seen as somebody who is trying to please the leader, but you are the messenger of positive thoughts. And you get your share of the mind share of the person. If you do it through 2-3 times, people will start correlating you with positivity. They would love to talk to you in person. If there's, at the beginning, it can be just in the cafeteria, or if they notice you somewhere, the positive thing comes to your mind. They don't see, oh, you are a troublemaker. Oh my God, this person is here in meeting. Now I don't know what all rubbish is going to talk. While we want to hear the opinion, it has to be wrapped very well in the way when you communicate. Even the devil's advocate or giving very frank opinion also, we value it, but how you say it matters. How you represent the negative opinion also matters, or contradiction or feedback. Very important. We value it. Most of the leaders need to know what manner. Is it a personal attack, or it's a very balanced way of presenting the opinion? That matters. So be the carrier of positivity, and even if you want to give some feedback, present it properly, because you are creating an image and people will support you for that. Since I have 20 minutes and I want to restrict to only few, and then rest of the things we can take it based on the questions we have. My third and last point is about what is the first impression that you are making? Because your first impression is your last impression. Sometimes it is not about the depth you have. I'm not saying it's not, you don't need it. You need the, if you must have the depth, but sometimes even if the person, how the person walks in, how the person dresses, how the person's punctuality, which doesn't take anything. It doesn't take any skill. It just needs interest in yourself and interest in your future. Where you say, I will present myself as a professional. I'll walk in looking like a professional, not like stroll in. If you, there are two people who walk into a conference room, both of them are late, but somebody who comes in, walks in briskly and says, oh, I'm sorry, and sits there, versus a person who strolls in the meeting room as if it's just like he's walking in a garden. What will be your reaction? The first person, you may feel that, okay, you know what? This person was busy in some meeting. He's trying to wrap it up and run and come to this meeting. We value his presence and we are okay, forgiving for the delay that he has. The other one really sometimes boils my blood. Now, what the hell is this garden? You are coming in late. Where is the punctuality? So what impression you are creating matters, because that tells a lot about you to the people. So the person who is shabbily dressed, the person who is not punctual, or the person who walks in with a strolling kind of, like there's nothing much to do in life, just wandering here and there, that kind of impression doesn't really help you in long term, because people remember. So the very small thing, very minute, but really matters. If you are looking at accelerating your career, you need to create right persona. You need to have right way of speaking, and you have to be visible. You need to build right content. These things are extremely important if you want to accelerate the career, because the competition is huge. The competition is like thousands and thousands of people are there who are in the normal export category. So how do you differentiate matters? And last sentence is, it's the attitude which decides the altitude. So it's your attitude, how you seriously you look at yourself, how seriously you take your job, how you are ready to support others, how you are ready to take up anything that comes your way without saying it's small work or a big work. This will translate to you are building the attitude and building the persona and accelerating the career. This is what I've seen. I work with 40,000 employees in Hyderabad, SEZ, the Infosys campus. And so I can fairly say that I can pretty much say that out of this 40,000, there are about 15-20 who I remember and I bank on them. And they are the people, if somebody says that, oh, we want to give a role change, or we have internal IJPs where people can apply for any role outside their department. And then people ask me, oh, you're floating an internal job posting. Do you have somebody who you want to propose or you want us to consider? So I will bank on this 15-20 people. And why this 15-20 people? Why are they getting unfair advantage? Because of the way they are ready to raise hand, they are able to take up any work comes their way instead of thinking about boundaries. They are always present. They are the crusader of positivity, and it's phenomenally professional to work with them. And I will always bank on them and will support them in their career growth. I just wanted to share my experiences with you, and how we pick up the people who we want to bank on, and who will we support for accelerating their career journeys. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. I think that's been a very interesting and simplified talk for the benefit of audience. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that this particular conversation, this talk is very different. This is a different level altogether compared to various other talks. This has been specially encapsulated to benefit the mid-level budding leaders in various domains who are keen on making it to the top. There are large number of people, as mentioned by Manisha ji. There's a huge competition in every organization, not just IT, but with her exposure and experience of handling large numbers, as large as 40,000 people. I think those distilled facts in terms of tips for us have been extremely useful. I'm sure all of us will relate to those aspects where we have probably not focused, especially in terms of are you the best kept secret in your organization? You have ensured that nobody knows you. So that is the biggest mistake probably. Make sure that you're noticed, make sure that people know you, and eventually they stand by you. So that is the first mantra. And the second one is how you can be a messenger of positivity, how you can spread positivity apart from sharing the feedback, between being a yes man to being a, what you call, opposition party syndrome kind of person. How you can strike your balance, that's a very important aspect. Present your feedback nicely, and then they will trust you and they will look for your views next time as well. So that's being messenger of positivity. And the third and the most important thing is there is no second opportunity to give that first impression. Therefore, the way you look, the way you walk, and the way you talk, these are the simple tips that one needs to be consciously cultivating so that we are right there to be noticed appropriately, and right impression is drawn based on how we actually carry ourselves. So competition is huge. It's going to be much more than huge. It's going to be huge plus every time. So therefore, our attitude will only take us to different heights. As rightly mentioned, our attitude determines our altitude. And therefore, these things to be kept in mind when we are crafting our journey. And as much as we are hungry about making the final cut to the corner office, that is, if you want to be the CXO, how do you accelerate your journey? We need to keep broadly, this is a template, and many more details are going to come by as we get into the Q&A session. So thank you very much, ma'am, for that wonderful and simple, well-kept, simply kind of talk. Thanks for that. I'll now request Professor Prasad to initiate the first cluster. As we mentioned earlier, these questions are collected at the time of registration, and each of the participants key in their question, and we landscape those questions in a particular sequence so that we have a proper cohesiveness in our conversation. So over to Professor Prasad for the first cluster of questions. Thank you very much. Welcome, Professor Prasad.
Thank you, Professor Rao. A question that we commonly get when we do this is, how is this relevant for me? We get it into the, the registration form. And I think just to begin with, management is a practice. So whatever theory or, whatever is taught in B schools starts with the practice. And for those who have encapsulated that practice. So it's always extremely important to keep listening to people from industry, whichever industry one belongs to, or also for people from other industries, because the world is changing. And a lot of what you want to create as values is what you can borrow as ideas, as seeds of thoughts that come from other places. Then if you've got the talent, you can do that. So this is one of the reasons why we do this webinar. And it has been one of the questions. So ma'am, to begin with, what we will do is we will start with questions which are related to your experiences. So there are a couple of them. I'd like to post them first. The first is that, keeping the perspective of what you have mentioned, can you share a memorable experience or an event in your career where you were able to leverage what you have mentioned and it has immensely benefited you, and therefore you are sharing it with the others?
I think especially when we have interactions with Narayan Murthy Garu, the founder of Infosys, right? He knows that typically his thought is that typically women don't ask questions when his events happen. So he always ends his session with a question asked by a woman employee. And it's obviously an honor to ask question to Narayan Garu. So since we know this, whenever I get an opportunity to attend his meetings, I go prepared with one question. And I say that, okay, if in the end he says, okay, one woman, any one woman from the audience should ask the question, I'll raise my hand and I'll give that opportunity. And obviously, if it's a Narayan Garu's meeting, obviously all the senior people will be there and they'll notice me. They'll say, okay, this is Manisha and she's asking question. How good the question is also important. So you need to ask the right question to in such forums. So I learned it that, okay, it helps to ask right questions. The other thing which I do is that whenever I attend a session by one of my mentors who is president of Infosys. So after the session is over, I'll send him an email or on a WhatsApp. I'll tell him what are people talking about his session and what I felt about his session. And I'll even if there is a critical comment, which is like improvement area for him also, I'll tell him. So he absolutely trusts my feedback and values it a lot. And he always remembers also that if Manisha is present in my session, she'll give me the feedback. And there is a rapport built, right? Now he knows me. Imagine president of company knowing you is a big thing. And why does he know him? Me? Just because I interact with him after every session, whenever I'm attending. Not that I attend too many sessions, but say once in a quarter, once in 2-3 months, I'll send him an email. It's a very simple thing, right? It doesn't take much time. And usually after the session, we talk to people. Hey, how was the session? What did you learn? What did you think? And people will talk. I will not give names of the people. This is what I heard. Very simple mechanism to build a contact. And I can once in a while reach out to him saying if I need some help, some guidance. Now he knows me, right? So there is a link created. I can leverage it once in a while for something which I need information on. So it helps.
Excellent, ma'am. I think you have illustrated exactly what you have captured, both in terms of the preparation that you do, the visibility that comes in with that, as well as the first impression, because you've prepared your question very well. I think in both the instances, you've done that. And I'm reminded of a very famous cell biologist called Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's written a pretty good book about connecting, the science to spirit. And what he says there is that it is the skin of a cell which is more intelligent than the nucleus, and is the skin which interacts with the world. It's not the nucleus. The skin which interacts with the world, the skin which finds viruses, the skin which finds benefactors. And because of that course of interaction, it gains a lot far more than what the nucleus is. I think you have illustrated in your session and the points that you made exactly this. The second question, ma'am, is related to the audience. I think more than one question has come on this, that what are the challenges that you have faced in your professional journey till date? And how has, what kind of insights have you used, including the ones that you have mentioned, in order to contribute value and reach the position that you're in?
I think the biggest challenge that I've faced is sometimes in my career, I felt I'm going nowhere. I felt it's a complete stagnation. For years, there's no role change. Nothing is happening, and especially I'm very ambitious. So I want to do more. I want to grow faster. I'm okay to work 16 hours a day. I am, as I told you, that I invest in myself, do everything right. And then you expect that you'll see outcomes, right? And we are in a hurry to see the outcomes. And and sometimes it just felt like I hit the end of the road, or I'm just in a shunting, like the railway tracks, there are some bogies are kept in shunting, and I felt I'm kept in shunting. So this has happened, and that was the most challenging time of my career, where I had to have lots of patience, I had to have lots of faith, I had to have lots of resilience and persistence, and belief in myself that okay, it's a difficult time, but I know I'm going to come out of it. And also, there was a quote which I came across, which said that it's not about, rather it is more like, okay, what matters is what you do when God is trying to answer your prayers. Okay, so what it means is that when we go through the tough times, during the tough times, what is your attitude? What is your behavior pattern that decides the outcome or what will happen after the tough time is over. So, when you feel that nothing is happening in my career, things are not moving, I'm pretty sure that many of us face that, right? That's why I want to take it up, because I don't want to say that, okay, I was always on the best of the road. And so I feel it's very important to share failures with people. or share the tough times. I'm glad you asked that question, because otherwise people feel, oh, she had it all the best, so she didn't have to struggle. I'm struggling. So I struggled. I've gone through tough times, and what mattered is that what is my attitude towards my own work when during the tough time. Do I continue to give my best? Do I still talk positively, or I spread negativity during that time, saying that, oh, nothing is good in this organization, etc. Or we say, okay, there is something more I need to do. I could not make it to the promotion or so because maybe there was something extra I want to do and I should invest in that. Or I say, oh, manager had somebody who was his favorite and that's why she promoted him. So what is my attitude? What do I look at it as? Do I look at it as I need to do a little more? Or I look at it as end of the road? So that attitude, that thinking, and the focus should, if we remain focused, things change. Things will turn positive. And the other thing which I would like to say is that if we have built network beyond our project and manager, if you have mentors, you have worked with people beyond your hierarchy or your organization or the unit or the project, these people will help during the tough times. Because during the tough times, maybe your manager cannot help you because the manager has to look at all the team members equally, but the mentors can afford to give you an opportunity which your managers can't give. So it's important to have mentors. It's important to have networks because they will pull you up. They will give you a helping hand during tough times. They will give you that courage to face tough times. Everybody comes across this. I've seen almost all the leaders. I felt it was not about how intelligent they are, how great workers or the performers they are. I felt that the leaders who I have seen grow and really get to say so, what mattered is how much belief they had in themselves and how much resilience they showed during tough times. Because I've seen them go through very tough time and then they went up again. How did they bounce back? That mattered. How resilient they were.
Very important, ma'am. Very, very important. I think both the points that you've made are excellent points, and particularly for those who have the mid-career experience. Everyone goes through phases, including Virat Kohli. And I think, it's a question of what you do with that particular time and the attitude that you display during that particular time and the connectedness that you show. I think the kind of mentors that you have so that you can see opportunities. And more importantly, I think that leadership is above all a test of resilience. And given a kind of world that we are in where things are changing every now and then, priorities change. I think adaptability is extremely important. And I think this sort of a phase where you are, you don't know what's happening and you're not able to move forward. What you do during those times is also going to decide what you will do when you face some of those challenges later. Thank you, ma'am. I think that's a very, very important point. Ma'am, the next question is about leadership is a word that is, interpreted in many ways by many leaders. So in your view, given your experience, how do you, what does leadership mean to you? How would you illustrate it in a world like ours today's, which we have, not just for IT, but you're seeing so many things which are happening around?
I think leadership is about having a vision. First, you need to be able to visualize how you want to shape future. I think that's the first and the most important thing about a leader, that he or she has to be able to visualize future, able to understand what we want to achieve and put it in words, articulate it, explain it to the team, because whatever you want to achieve, you will need lots of support from people around you. How do you garner support? By expressing your vision properly, articulating and taking a buy-in from lots of people. Could be seniors or could be team members, both ways. So are you able to articulate your vision and garner support? That's the second thing that we will need to do as a leader. You might have the best of the vision, but if you can't get people to support you, you will not be able to make it. That's the second part. And the third part about the leader, I feel, is also his or her ability to get people to work and put a governance, monitoring, and show the outcomes. Why is governance and monitoring needed is that I very frequently talk to leaders who say, oh, we also did this initiative. Like, I tell them that we need to do this. So, yes, I know we need to do it, and we did it also, but it didn't help. So I typically tend to ask them that, okay, you wanted to do it, you did it also, you gave it a try. And when it did not work out, what did you do? Because you didn't put the governance and monitoring in place. So you couldn't bring it back on track. You did it like a flash of lightning, told once that, okay, this is what we should do. And if you feel that it's going to give you a result, it's not going to give you a result. You need to have maniacal focus on the things which you want to achieve. Put governance structure. So you have vision, you have buy-in from the team, you have a team which is working on it. They will get deviated, they will get defocused, they will go in all direction. And you can bring them back and get the outcomes only and only if you have governance and monitoring put in place. So if I think the leader needs to have all of this, because ultimately it's about having a vision and able to translate it to reality. I think that's what leadership is about.
Again, a very practical framework that you have proposed, ma'am. I think, given the kind of changes that we have, there is always this need from moving from here in terms of how we operate to moving to there in terms of we have to operate. And therefore, having a vision, and a vision is a very important word because it must seem interesting to people who are listening to you, and the way you articulate it, you will get the support. But you also did mention that finally the team has to move from point A to point B. And for that, systems and governance is going to be extremely important. The way you monitor, the way you find out what went wrong, how do you get the feedback which is required, and how do you put a solution in place which will therefore help you to continue this movement from point A to point B. Excellent, ma'am. I think that's also an extremely practical point that many of leaders can take back. The next question, ma'am, is about so the journey to the top is highly contextual. It is highly situational also. What worked for one leader does not work for another leader. And we have seen the case of many CEOs in very established corporates where things actually go wrong. So how do potential and aspiring leaders read the relevant situation? How do they read what is happening around them so that then they can start planning, envisioning, etc.?
I think at least for me, it is about reading between the lines, because not everything is said. So if I have to plan and I need to understand the dynamics, there are a couple of things which I look at. First is the people dynamics, and the second is the domain and what are the changes that are coming in. So I need to understand that and prepare. Am I answering your question, Prasad Garu?
Yes, ma'am, you are. Please continue.
So first is that in organization, especially in organization, we need to have an understanding of what are the organization strategies. Sudhakar, am I speaking loud enough? Because I see a comment.
You're audible, ma'am. You're audible.
Yeah. Sometimes you're going back away from the mic.
That's what I noticed, and I tried to reposition. So yeah. So first one is what are the organization strategies that tells me what is the organization direction. And I never fight with the organization strategy, because there in an organization like Infosys, there are people who are looking at the industry landscape, and lots of inputs are taken before the strategy is decided. Now, my responsibility is to decide on how to implement that strategy, how to give my best to the strategy. So it's important to contribute to the organization strategy and create a framework which will work for me, for where I can contribute. So it's important to contribute to the organization strategy, and strategy change periodically, they're realigned, and we need to very quickly able to realign. Okay, that's one about the organization strategy and how we need to align to the changes. The second thing is related to people dynamics, because I told you the people play a very important part, and the dots we need to connect and the networks we need to build. So we also have to understand where are the changes coming in the organization, because they change, that there are always some moving parts. and we need to understand and build new networks. It's not like permanent, only these 4 people. And the new people will come. You need to start working with them, align to them, build a rapport with them. So the changes around that. And third is about the technology and my own skill set, because I always believe that what got me here will not get me there. And that is why it is important that I'm always looking for what are the new skills needed. What should I do more? Like, for example, right now I'm looking at personal branding as an area which I need to focus on, because it's today's world. It is a very important aspect of being a professional, which was not the case 5-10 years back. So I'm saying, okay, so the world is changing, the dynamics in the macro environment is changing, and I need to very quickly catch up with. I have to be ahead of curve in some sense. Did I answer your question? I'm not.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think what you have very broadly said is that you need to understand your context. And that context includes organizational context, which includes the strategies, and that which is at policy and strategy level, don't try to fight with it, because there is a collective consciousness which has gone into it with the required wisdom, smartness, etc. And therefore, we don't try to fight with it. And then we understand that well, and then we come to the people aspect of it, which is also context again, and try to see how we can build a solution keeping this kind of a people context in mind. And lastly, we'll have to come to ourselves with respect to our content and our skill set, and see how we can contribute keeping these 2 things in mind. So in summary, it is a content which is placed within a context. So the context is extremely important. I think it goes back to the skin metaphor. The context is extremely important to situate your contribution. And I think a lot of leaders need to understand that very well. I think you have articulated the response very well, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next question, ma'am, is about those facing challenges in corporate context, and this everyone does. Do you have any advice from them? You have already talked about patience, fortitude, and adaptability, etc. But would you like to spend a little more time on that?
A little more time. Can I take a woman's example?
Certainly.
Okay, so especially for a woman who go through tough time during their, like I say, there are some life cycle phases, getting married, building new relationships in the new home, or having baby and trying to take up that big role of being mother and the creator. So sometimes when we face such kind of very difficult challenges, and even men face their own way of the challenges, what we do is we make a comma, a full stop. What does it mean is that when we face these kind of challenges, we to go slow. It's fine to go slow for a few years in the career. It's just fine. But if we make that comma a full stop, that is, you give up on your career, or you say nothing is happening here, I'll move on, then that is end of the road. So when you face tough situations, go slow. It's fine to go slow, but don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Believe in yourself. Things will happen. Just little patience.
I think again,
Prasad, I'm sorry. There's one thing which I did not say, and it's not part of my introduction. I started my formal IT career in the corporate world 13 years after completing my formal MBA from Nursing Home. So I completed my MBA, and then there was a go slow phase where I was doing something which I was not sitting at home. I had work. I was doing some few hours of work a day, but very slow. There was no the hustle and bustle and high fly life of the corporate. That started only after 13 years. So I took almost 13 years of go slow, comma, and then started.
I think that puts the perspective across even more strongly, because from a completely different world, you have understood what is required, and you have, in a way, accelerated time in terms of what you've been able to do. I think this point also, ma'am, is it highlights the fact that when you're on a slippery floor, you need to walk slowly. And all of us will get into that slippery floor, and it reinforces some of the points that you've mentioned earlier. The last question in this cluster, ma'am, is about the professional advice that you would give yourself when you started off. Maybe 10 years back, if you take yourself back, is there any change that you would have envisaged? Is there something different that you would have, some kind of an advice which you think would have taken it differently?
At that point of time, 10 years back or 20 years back, I believed that my work will do the talking for me. And I felt work is the most important thing, and that's the only important thing. However, over a period of time, I started realizing that the best kept secret, or for that matter, am I the devil's advocate, or am I the devil? And also the first impression matters. I remember I used to wear this absolutely nondescript and stupid kind of dresses, and the first impression was really like shabby, because I felt my work should do the talking. But I realized that no, I am a whole personality. I'm a full package where I dress professionally, I talk clearly, I spread positivity, and I do my work extremely well. I deliver outcomes. But only delivering outcomes may not help if I'm the best kept secret. So yes, that's something which I learned along the way.
So I think, you have built, you have your insights and your principles that you are sharing with others are actual practical experience of what you have done for yourself. And I think that reinforced this all the more. Thank you, ma'am. We come to an end to this cluster, and I hand it back to Professor Rao.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I think it's going on very well in terms of the conversation. These are the most doable tips that anyone have shared with us on this platform till now. And it's going to be useful to those mid-career leaders who are aspiring to be on the top one day. I think it cannot get more practical than this. So I'll jump into the second cluster of questions. There are very interesting questions, but I'll see if we can cover all these. Lots of participants, when they write, they write from their own imagination as well as context of where they are working, or sometimes context of the challenges that they would have faced in their organizations and in their career. So apart from what you mentioned till now in terms of leadership, for those aspiring leaders, for example, it is from your point of view, if you have to identify those young leaders, say they are potentially going to be at the top level sooner, what are the indicators? What are the top 5 indicators that you would look for among potential leaders? Say they're going to be amazing leader of leaders in times to come. So what are the 5 indicators of potential leaders?
I think the first indicator is that they raise the hand when there is work. They don't consider work as a problem. They consider work as an opportunity. So if there is anything that has to be done in the organization, and they know that okay, there is a problem, there is something where work has to be done. Like say, some initiative is taken up, some intervention. So these people raise their hand and take it up. So they don't think about, oh, am I getting paid for it? Oh, what am I going to get out of? What is the ROI? Or they don't think about, is this going to give me promotion? Is this going to give me role change? Or is this going to give me rise or money? They don't think about what am I going to get out of it. They just believe that I have the capability to do this particular work and contribute and make the organization better, and I'll do it. So the people who raise their hand and contribute, focus on contributing to the organization instead of calculating ROI is the first aspect which I look for. And the second aspect which I look for are the people who have raised their hand and have delivered. Because many people take up the responsibility, but afterwards they disappear. So whatever we say we will do, are they able to actually deliver? That professionalism, that commitment, I consider that as a sacrosanct. I'm always on lookout for the people who will raise their hand and will deliver to whatever they commit to. And that tells me that this person is the person I will bank on, and I'll push his case whenever, or her case whenever there's an opportunity.
Okay, fantastic. I think you're talking about certain codes of conduct of professionalism in terms of raising your hand and being there to deliver, because that's a commitment, and the mindset of tangible contribution that one is supposed to have made every single time. When there's an opportunity, you raise hand and also be conscious of your contribution that you can make. These are some of the qualities that helps you identify the potential leaders. So that's well answered.
These are the qualities which sets apart a person who is going to go on fast track versus a person who is going to deliver whatever is told to him or whatever is his work. Who is going on the fast track, who is going to go on the accelerated path, and who is going to just deliver whatever is asked. That's the difference, sir.
Yeah. So essentially what you're saying is these are the qualities that demarcate or differentiate between a fast track growth aspirant vis-a-vis also ran kind of participants in the organization. So thank you. Thank you for that, ma'am. The second question is from a business leader perspective, you would have seen many and identified. So what do you think? I mean, nobody would like to be a laggard. Nobody would like to stay on the bottom. Everyone would like to actually reach. You have recruited lots of people, you have taken them through training, and in between there are team leaders who coach them, mentor them. But where do you think are the challenges for them not to have enough of fire, or somewhere the mid-level leaders or the leaders at the level below you are actually not looking at them and their challenges properly? What are the challenges? Although everyone theoretically would like to be a great leader.
I think the challenge people face is that they kind of feel that they are good, or they do not have the mirror to tell them what they need to do more. And I'm as good as everybody else. And if something is not happening for me, let it be role change or let it be salary hike, they, instead of trying to look internally and understanding what more they can do, they blame the system, they blame the manager, they blame the organization. And when a person goes into this mindset, there's little that can be done. And challenge is that even the inputs are given to them, they'll not take it because they don't believe in system. So I think that belief in the system is the challenge. If people can believe in system and say the system will work, but why are there people who are able to manage the system? And why am I not able to manage? Is it a problem with me or problem with system? So I think that is the biggest challenge. That's my view. Why everybody doesn't go to the top, right?
So it is about people believing in themselves and believing in the system that they are working in, so that their mindset is positive and they start contributing. About also not just contribution, but about other factors that you mentioned before. So it begins with the mindset. So some people have a mindset which is very different, and that itself is a challenge more than anything else.
Yeah. Thank you for making it so crystallized. I was not able to exactly articulate. I have to accept that. So, sir, you put it very well.
Thank you, ma'am.
The mindset, which is a challenge.
What are the see? I know that this session is not about a HR leader talking about it. A business leader is talking about it. But from your business leader's perspective, what is the EQ that a leader must develop in this fast-paced journey, or supposedly an accelerated journey? What are the factors on emotional quotient that will help these rising leaders?
I think ability to not get stressed, because once you start getting stressed, you worry about things, you live in past or you live in future. That's when the problems start. On the EQ front, I'll say, first of all, ability to manage your time and ability to live in the moment. That matters a lot. And the second thing is being empathetic with the team members, understanding what are they going through. As a leader, it's very important that we understand the people around us, what they are going through, and stand by them. Because that is going to form a stronger bond, and these bonds will help you to get your work done when they're back, when they bounce back and they are back on track. The personal challenges are gone. These people will do their 300% for you. So the empathy is one important part, and the managing the stress.
Very interesting, ma'am. I think whether it is leadership at a lower level or mid-level or at the top level, whether it is at organizational level or country level, I think empathy comes first. Empathy is a huge determinant in making one a leader, because the whole discussion and the topic is about people. It's not about objects. It's not about inanimate stuff. So if you understand people who are around you and you stay empathetic, I think the chances of becoming a leader and being accepted as a leader are pretty high. And it begins with empathy. Of course, certain other factors of efficiency that you mentioned in terms of managing one's work and time appropriately, and not get bogged down by the work pressure. Don't get stressed out, so that so that you carry a mindset of being positive and being contributory helps. So thank you, ma'am. I think empathy is figuring on top on the parameters that leaders must possess. Along the same line, I have one more question, and that question is about this question, which are always there in the minds of a lot of participants. Do you think a leader must possess all qualities, or the leader must know everything, the back-end stuff like coding, for example, in your parlance, or one should have the ability of managing all these facets of work? Which do you think is recommended?
So there is a concept which is called as leadership by design. And I believe in it. It basically means that the leader needs to have right people, should be able to bring in right people together so that together they can deliver. So if somebody is an architect, he should be expert in the architecture part of it. Somebody will be interior design, somebody will be designing the facade of the building, but somebody is expert in electric and somebody in plumbing, and they all come together to build a stellar building, a tall building. If I want to do something by myself, like I will only lay the roof, I'll only dig in the base, I'll only make the walls, then I will make a hut, a small hut, because that is all that my capability is as one individual. But if you want a tall, stellar building, you need to bring lots of experts together and able to give them their space and make sure that they all are glued together for a common goal. So that is leadership by design.
Awesome. I think fantastically put, ma'am. I'm really enjoying this response. Leadership by design, the ability to collect, put together experts from different domains and end up building a really wonderful, in your words, a stellar building or a stellar project for that matter. Results are really, really great only when the ability and the yearning for collaboration is great. I think that's a collaborative mindset we are talking about, and it's one of the topmost facets of leadership. Yet again, that has been fantastic. One of the members mentioned that leadership is multidimensional. Yes, leadership is multidimensional. Leadership cannot be narrow. Leadership is about people. Leadership by design is about making sure that experts come together, and together we build a great structure or a great result. That's an awesome point that we have captured in this discussion also. Ma'am, one more point is that you've been at the helm of affairs. You're heading the Infosys Hyderabad SEZ. It's a very prestigious and large unit. A leader is always measured by the challenges, and the challenge is directly proportional to the unit size or the unit magnitude. Okay, so from your personal work experience of so many years, what would be your advice to other teams, probably outside your organization, how to develop innovative aptitude among these budding leaders so that we all go towards creating an innovative work culture? So innovative aptitude, how it can be developed to create an innovative work culture?
Okay, this is one very interesting question, because the innovation and the size of the campus don't have to correlate. So when we are looking at but innovation is a survival tactic today, right? It's a survival skill. We can't possibly say that I'll continue where I am and doing the things the way I used to do and or I'm doing today. I'll continue that way. It is not, it will not survive too long. So innovation is a survival skill. And how do we nurture innovation? Is first by making people feel that they can innovate. The first is I can innovate. I am enabled to innovate. I am competent enough to innovate. Innovation is not delegated to a R&D group, or it is not delegated to certain innovation cell in the organization. That's the first thing that we need to bring in. Every employee should understand that innovation is part and parcel of the day, that in his day's work. First. Second is we need to also tell people that there is nothing called a small and it's incremental innovation is also okay. You don't have to necessarily have a patent on your name or some IP on your name to say that I'm an innovator. So innovation can be even the smallest of the micro that you write or the smallest of the problem that you solve in a more efficient manner. So you're doing your routine work efficiently and evolving some systems and processes and code or automation also is innovation. So there's nothing called as big and small. Everything counts and everybody can do it. So the first is everybody should and can do it. Second is that it is not about big and small. Innovation is innovation. And the third thing is creating the ecosystem, creating the environment where people can speak up. People should be able to say that, yes, there is a problem here. That's only when you recognize a problem, you'll think about an innovative solution. If you're not even told, even allowed to speak up about the problems, or it's just hush hush and your opinion will not be valued, or somebody gives an innovative idea, they're just told to, that this is how we operate here. So do we really need you? 30 years we've been here. We're doing it. This is how the things are done here. So then you are killing that innovation. So always remember that the idea is like a small butterfly sitting on your hand. And if you even move, or if you any movement of the hand, it will run away and it will be gone forever. So that every idea counts, and it's a butterfly in your hand. You have to nurture it. You have to listen to it. You have to understand where it is coming from before you discard it. So creating that ecosystem where people will talk, people will exchange ideas. Actually, innovation is not something which we can talk about in 2-3 sentences. I'm giving you a few things because it's people write PhD on it, people do research on it. So I'll just say, but in a very small way, everybody can do it. There is nothing small and big, and we need to nurture, create ecosystem where ideas can be exchanged freely. The bare minimum things.
Very, very true. Very interesting. Actually, these are lessons for the heads of various units, not just in IT, but it is applicable in every other domain, like academics, like marketing, like finance, various other domains as well. In sports, I think this is extremely, extremely useful. What you said is worthy of noting down, because you said every single person counts, everyone counts. N is equal to 1 as far as leader is concerned. We need to pay attention to that person, that individual as well, and make sure that everyone is inclusive. And second one is to create that belief that we can innovate. I can attitude, we can attitude is a very important thing, and it need not be in large parcels. It can be in small increments as well. You don't have to run after patents and any other rewards, but I think at incremental level as well, innovation is possible, and it should be encouraged. It should be part of the ethos of the organization. Only when it is recognized that small parcels is good enough for us, and then collectively it will become an innovative organization. Wonderful. And the other point that you mentioned is, are people allowed to speak and raise their concerns when a challenge is faced, when there is a issue, when there is a situation to speak? do we have that freedom to speak? They are not snubbed out, they are not discouraged, but they can raise their issue, they can talk about the problems. So it's an open organization, and that culture, it adds to the organization's culture, and innovation will flourish in such organizations. And very beautifully, that small butterfly example that you have given, I think that will remain in the minds of the audience for a long time. So thank you very much on that. Before I go to the next question, I request the audience to raise their hands if they have any queries. They can talk to the leader directly. Meanwhile, I'll finish this last question. Ma'am, this career to the top is not easy. We all acknowledge that. We need to work very hard, and it calls for some kind of sacrifices. This acceleration is also in a way a race sometimes. So how do we balance between career to the top and work-life balance? How do we manage these two?
I think it's not about balancing, because there is nothing called as balancing. It's about integration, living in the moment, where there are some times at the home when there is a festival or a party, or some friends have come, or you are needed because somebody in the family who needs your care. You just have to accept it and tell the world that you have to wait. And there are times when you have to tell the family that I will not be available for next 3 days because I have got an offset coming, or I'm traveling, something like that. And this expectation settings is the important part of able to manage work and life, not as balancing, but as integration. That's one thing which I will say. And when it comes to sacrifices, there are also, I don't know to call them sacrifice, because that sounds like, okay, some Savitri Devi Phule doing sacrifice, or somebody giving away something. I think it's just about understanding what is my priority and which is the option I am selecting. Out of the 3 things which I want to do, what is that one thing which I will do? It will mean that the other 2 I have to let go, because this is my highest priority. And that is my conscious decision. I'm not doing it as a sacrifice. I'm doing it as, this is more important for me, and I want to do it at this point in time. Because the minute you start thinking about sacrifice, you'll feel like a sacrificed goat, and you'll go in the self-pity mode, and you'll feel guilty, and these are all negative thoughts and negative energies.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you totally.
As soon as we say, I have taken this decision, and this is what I'm going to do today in this 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock period, right? So between, there's a commitment I made. That's the option which I have. I could always say no, right? I could have done something else. But once I've taken this option, then I can't be going partying with my friends because it's Friday evening. I can't feel like sacrifice of my friends are partying and I'm sitting here. It's my conscious decision that this is what I will do today in this 1 hour. That's it. It's very simple, actually. Please, let's not associate this sacrifice and negativity. They don't help you. They don't help anybody. They don't help anybody. You go talk to your partner or your family members that I sacrificed. Who told you to do this?
Yeah,
let's not consider ourselves so great that we're sacrificing.
Very nice. Very nice. I think that's a beautiful point. It is about staying grounded and making sure that your prioritization is appropriate and it is your decision. So the people who are at home will respect your work, and the people at office also respect that you have people at home and their priorities are there in your mind. I think that is when we strike the balance, perfect work-life balance. I think we need to set those expectations and manage it. It's not like sacrifice. It's a wonderful way you have put it. Thank you very much. I would now like to invite
Sudhakar Garu. I have to say you're very good at moderating it and giving me so much pleasure of answering. You are really good.
Thank you, ma'am. We are learning from you. May I invite Shweta Anandji, and after that we will invite Ramesh Singham for asking a question himself. He has many comments to make, so we will bring him on center stage as well. First, Shweta Anandji, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Good evening, ma'am. It was a pleasure, real pleasure to listen to you. I've been listening to you very keenly, ma'am. You spoke about self-branding, and my research domain centers around employer branding. So I'm lucrated to ask you this question because you'll be having first-hand exposure to IT sector. Like, what are the factors which work in employer branding, ma'am? And what impact it is creating on the recruitment and attrition of employees in the current scenario?
Shweta ji, are you talking about the employee value proposition when you say employee branding?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. What is exactly that makes the difference? Because you will be having first-hand data to it.
Yes. So see, employee value proposition is something which is extremely critical, which will actually swing the attrition numbers and retention numbers. So it is very, very important for us. And another thing is that employee value proposition also is not something which we say, okay, this is what it is. We need, it's not written in stone. It is something that we need to have. It has to be redesigned depending on the employee mindset, because the new employees, the younger generation which comes in has different thoughts and expectations versus the people who are in the middle or the senior management who have got little more experience and maturity. And depending on who are we speaking to and what are their expectations from their career, the employee proposition, value proposition needs to be designed.
So, ma'am, is there? No, I'm sorry to disturb. I just want to know what exactly it is there which is going in employer branding domain, which would hold your attention, which would attract your attention as an employee. You would like to know from industry, like some insight which we as an academician can contribute to help in better attracting and retaining employees. What is that contribution you are looking for?
Okay, I'm not sure I understand your question, but if it is related to what kind of employee proposition we must have so that we can cater to what should be said to the employees.
Ma'am, like, is there any input, any insights that you are looking from this particular domain of employer branding? Will it? How can it create an impact in at Infosys, ma'am, in this domain?
Okay.
Is there anything which you are looking for, any insights which you are looking from this field of study, field of practice?
Okay. So as I mentioned that the employee proposition has to cater to what the employees are expecting, because that is, we need to talk to them. It has to appeal to them. Our employee value proposition has to cater to what the employee aspire or what the employees are expecting. So if somebody is doing research in the employee branding area, in that case, what I would like to know from them is what are employees looking for? Sometimes we feel that they're not looking for, like, they're not looking for stability, they're not looking for security, they're not looking for growth. Sometimes they're not even looking for promotions, as far as they just get money. Okay. And there are lots of people who are not looking for money, but they're looking for contribution. How am I contributing? Some employees are looking for how am I growing in my as a professional. That matters, right? A person like me, it really is the most important, is that am I becoming a better professional day on day? Automatically my valuation is going up. So today what I get doesn't matter to me, as far as I know that, okay, over a period of time I'm becoming better professional, my ability to earn is going up. So if some research is going on, and if you guys can tell us that what are employees looking for, what is today's generation looking for, then we can design our employee proposition based on that. 30 years back, if you could tell a person that I'll send you to US, he wouldn't ask you for salary today. Okay, he would say, okay, you're sending me abroad for work. That is what I want to do. That is my dream. Okay, and he was not in any mood to talk about salary. He said, whatever you give me, give, but you send me to US, right? That was the value proposition that they're looking for. That was their dream. So we want to understand what are employees looking for today. If you could tell us, if your research could tell us that, that will be very valuable for us.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your answer. And I would like to associate with you on a personal level because my research is on employer branding, and I feel that some input, some guidance from you would take it in the right direction. Thank you so much,
Sure.
ma'am. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me the
Welcome.
opportunity to ask.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank
I
you.
think your research on employer branding is going to be much more stronger with inputs from Manisha ji, which she has promised. So thank you. We will now bring in Mr. Ramesh Singham. Ramesh Singham has not been sitting quiet. He has been making lots of comments. So over to you without any much ado. Ramesh Garu.
Thank you, Sudhakar ji. Actually, thanks a lot for giving me an opportunity. Manisha also. Actually, I am a BFSI consultant and a Finacle certified administrator, and roamed different multi-dimensional this one. I would like to ask one simple question: how we can able to override the ethics with an attitude? Actually, he is having a right attitude, but how he can able to override his ethics? He is having ethics which are going to be a correct. Actually, he is a disciplined, he or she, but how he can able to override that ethics to build a correct attitude?
Can you give an example of what you mean by ethics and what you mean by
going to say is wrong? Suppose a person who speaks truth, but he wants to speak over their lie. This is actually the person who is speaking truth is his ethics. He is not crossing the border of the ethics. Correct. And just like this is a wonderful example taken from even the Lord Sri Krishna, Ashwadama Kunjaraha Tata Yata Tata, like that. In the statement with that Dronacharya, because he is actually he is unable to be. But
Okay,
at the same he
sorry.
gave advice like that.
Sorry, Ramesh ji, I'll have to stop you there because we are not able to hear you at all. There's lots of disturbance from your side. Yeah, but I think I understood your question. So I'll make an attempt, and if you feel that I've not understood it, maybe you can put it in the chat box and I'll take it up. But what I understood is that there are some times when the ethics and the attitude or the activity or some of the actions that you do don't match. So, or they cannot match because of certain circumstances are such that you can't stand by your ethics. Then what do you do? And how do you manage the situation? And you give the example of Ashwathama. And let me tell you, and let me give you one small example of how I manage it. Somewhere I have this very clear, this thing that I'll always speak truth. Okay. Now I work in corporate world, and it's not always possible that you will always say truth, right? In that case, what do you do? So what you do is that, one, you don't answer that question or that comment. You don't directly take it heads on. Okay. Or you can tell the part of the thing which you can say, and there are certain things which you can't say. So very carefully choose your words, and don't say lie, but you're not exactly telling the things which you should not be telling, because ultimately there is something called as a white lie, right? Because what do you want to achieve in life? If by telling truth, if somebody is going to get killed, do you want to tell that truth? So beyond ethics, that okay, I will always say truth, I'll always talk truth, there is something beyond that which also is important. If your truth is going to make somebody extremely unhappy, if your truth is going to encourage somebody to suicide, for example, you don't want to tell that truth.
Actually,
So
I did the
have that
similar
balancing in your brain that yes, I want to tell truth, but how, where, when, in what manner? That is the smartness we need to have.
Correct, madam. Actually, I delegated the work at that time in order to manage this type of situations. Also, I delegated my so many works.
Yeah, but then somebody else will have to tell the lie. What I'll say is that we will postpone telling the truth. That is a better. So we say, for example,
have a delegate, correct.
So somebody asked me yesterday why I did not get the salary hike. So I told him, I'll get you more information, give me some time. So at least that anger is gone. I bought some time. I will get time to think about what to tell that person. Right? So you don't have to always instantly respond.
Thank you, madam.
Think. Take time to
Thank
think.
you, sir. Yes.
But that was a difficult question, Rameshji.
Okay, Rameshji, thank you very much for persisting and cutting through the noise. You managed to raise your hand and also your voice, and we all have listened to you. And there's a point that you made, how we can look at leadership and how we can override attitude. How can you override or cross attitude over ethics? That's a fantastic point. Very difficult to explain, but it is nevertheless a fantastic point. Thank you, ma'am, for patiently taking it up. One more question I have, Mr. Srinivas Rao has asked in the Q&A section, as president of ICFAI, what are the challenges that you're going to face? As a leader, you will have to visualize the challenges as well. So what are the challenges that you're going to face that you think, and what kind of professional changes you would like to bring in to the association for the benefit of all the members?
Actually, I'm so excited about being president of ICFAI. It's a great opportunity to serve the IT fraternity. And at this point of time, I'm just thinking about opportunities and not about challenges seriously. And if you tell me that, okay, I must tell you a challenge, I think one challenge which I will have to overcome is getting more people, more members, more IT organization and their employees to contribute to ICFAI and the initiatives and activities we are going to, we are taking up. That is our strategic themes which we have. So it will be very important for us to involve more people. And that is the biggest challenge. Because if we have people with us, we are the winners.
Great. Thank you. That's a very nice point. I'll request Ramchandra ji to ask question directly. I have opened your mic. Ramchandra Garu, are you there? He is there. Sure. When he comes back, we'll take that question. He's talking about how can you handle the aspirations of middle level managers who want to reach the top, while we all know that the space there is limited. Can this lead to attrition of experienced people?
That is the question actually I wanted to take, because very pertinent. It's very, very important question. All of us face that as organization heads. We also have to worry about the middle management, because they're the pivot, right? They get the things done. They are the movers and shakers, actually speaking. And if they feel shortchanged, if they feel they don't see progress and growth for them, they may get demotivated, which we can't afford. So how do we give them that aspiration and how do we help them? I think the first and the foremost thing is deassociate the role and the progress and the promotion to contribution. So if we can tell these people, give them some kind of enablement to contribute more to the organization, they will love it. They will like it. People are not always looking for promotion. They're looking for more ability to contribute more, get better visibility, interact with more leaders. And even if there is a middle level manager, but instead of telling him that you should work only with your manager, we let them work with maybe skip level, little different department, some difference of work for them. Say, for example, they've been working only in one department. Can we give them lateral opportunity where the work doesn't become routine and they learn something new? So they get that, depending on what is that person's expectation, they get opportunity to learn. Some of them want to work with seniors, so give them opportunity for that. Some of them want to invest in themselves, so give them opportunity to do some certifications or do some kind of courses, maybe MBA, or say we do some courses with Harvard and Stanford, and so maybe they can, similar kind of things can be taken up where they take pride that, okay, now I may be in the middle level management, you know what, now I am alumni of XYZ institution, right? They take pride in it. So how are we investing in them, and how are you making them feel that we value you as a person, and the contribution that you make typically tends to help, because not everybody is going to go up. But so though we cannot give promotion to everybody, can we give them satisfaction of contribution and value addition to the organization? That will matter a lot in terms of whether they are moving out as attrition or they're going to remain invested in it and engaged in the current organization. This typically I have seen help. People say, I want to be valued. Okay, so that matters, and the value that they give. The other thing which I've seen help is also even if we can't give them a role change or the promotion to next level, at least can we tell them what is needed for them to get there? Can we at least give them a ray of hope? I'll tell you personally, when there were times when I changed the organization, that was when I felt that there is no ray of hope left for me here. And then I feel that if there is nothing going to happen for me, then I need to move on. But at that point of time, if somebody, and even like I'm in Infosys for 15 years, so whenever I felt that nothing is working, I gave an example. But if somebody came and told me, you know what, I can't give you anything right now, but if you do this, maybe after 1 year, 2 years, you may be able to get a opportunity. They're not committing to anything, but they're at least giving me a ray of hope. They're telling me it's possible. You do this. So giving a ray of hope makes a huge difference. So can we at least give them that?
Great, ma'am. Thank you very much. Ramchandra Gar, would you like to say anything now that the mic is open to you?
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And I think it's a wonderful session, madam, wonderful practical experience that you put across. It will be an eye-opener to quite a good number of people. And sir, Sudhakar Rao and Prasad Gar, madam, rightly acknowledge that you've been wonderful moderators. I've been watching your programs very regularly. Ma'am, I would only ask one question I did raise in the question box is that, your I just missed the connection a few minutes ago and again got it back. The point is, see, we know that the pyramid is just that the top is very small. So the space on the top is less. So you have been mentioning that how do you really help and try to tell people that yes, you can raise to the top, because many people do aspire, especially the middle level managers. This is what I was asking, and probably you partially answered the question. And then how do you really segregate them? Somebody says, okay, you give me an opportunity to go to US, or I give some raise or something like that. No, is it not so? I mean, is it not complicated to do this sort of segregation? I think practically, I don't know how, especially in IT, I came from the government sector, so I hardly see these sort of things. But when you are talking about all this sort of experimentation that you're talking about, how do you really segregate these people? How do you really say, okay, boss, these people, I'll say, I'll do this particular thing for you and this for you, and give a ray of hope like what you mentioned. I mean, is it possible? Then will this lead to, like your own example, you said, I didn't get a ray of hope, so I moved out. So then will it lead to attrition? So this, I think, will be the practical scenario, which probably, I think, a large company like you should already constantly be facing. May I know what exactly is the strategy you really give out? How to segregate these people, at least especially the middle level managers who keep on trying to aspire to move forward?
So that's an interesting question. As I said, that I wanted to take the question. So what we do in Infosys is we have a tool where we captured aspirations. And even when we did not have that tool, I used to, in an Excel sheet, I used to ask people, typically I noticed that people have 4 kinds of aspiration. It's about salary, or it's about location, or it's about promotion, or it's about something related to, what is my future, or, how am I learning, and the type of work, right? I want to work in AI/ML. I want to work in cloud. So the type of work. So these are the 4 different aspirations that typically felt people have. And I would ask them that, okay, tell me which area do you want the highest priority you will give, or which is the most important area, or which are the area which you're not happy with. And actually I had a matrix where I said that if a person gives more than 3 areas where he's not happy with, or if he wants intervention from us, that person is a high risk person for attrition. Because if any 1 or 2 are not good, people will say, there is something, right? These 2 are good, so let me continue. But if out of 4 that they want, typically tend to want employees, if the 3 are not good, definitely definitely they will start looking, because then there is an effort involved in finding a new job, profile to be prepared, and many people don't want to do all of that. Then I'll wait, it's fine. I'm getting 2 things, I'll manage. But if nothing is right, the 3 things which are not going right, typically they'll have enough motivation to prepare profile and go for interview.
Yes.
So I would very meticulously update this periodically, ask them, go and update. And people do give honest answers. So that's a small tool that we have prepared for capturing aspiration and taking actions. And just since you asked me, the actions don't have to be immediate, but we need to tell them that, okay, when will it happen? How will it happen? Or why I can't do it right now? Or what I can do for you. Okay, I can't give you promotion, but I can give you the work related to promotion. Like I can't give you manager designation as a role change. But what the managers do the work, out of that 3 things you can start doing, so that you at least feel that, yes, I'm there, almost there. Lots of things like this.
Great, ma'am.
I think it is a wonderful answer, ma'am. I think a very practical side of what exactly how you really go about. I think it is a real like, I mean,
Sir,
real way. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you, Sudhakar. Thank you for
Sir, you invited me here because I'm a practitioner, I'm a business leader. So I'm telling you everything from my experience, and sometimes it might sound
no, I think probably these sort of sessions are basically probably academics. They are already they are quite well adapted that. Maybe the practical side, you give the practical answers. So a combination, the students, people like us get benefit of this. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for joining. That has been a very interesting session. We have taken much more time than we have actually expected to. I request Professor Prasad if he has any one question or a final comment, so that I'll come back and wrap it up.
I think there is an important question related to people who are starting their careers, and given the kind of options which are available, the kind of courses which are available, the question is, how do you go about taking the first step in your career? There's someone here who says, that he's confused with the future. He wants to be in the finance field for CFA. I took BBA, but I want to do that. So there are different types of aspirations that people have. They've started doing something, then they realize that they need to do something else. So what when you start your career, what do you keep in mind? Are there some guiding principles that you can suggest?
Honestly, in the first job, because it's extremely difficult to get first job, at least I had lots of problems. I had very good credentials. It was not easy to get the first job. And so I appreciate the fact that first job is very difficult to come by. So my sincere advice to students who are starting their career is that take up the job which comes your way and make the most out of it, because it's just the starting point and it is not the decisive point. But take it up and make the most out of it. I think that is more important, because it's important to start the journey. However, if you have options, in that case, the first job, at least take the job where you will learn a lot. It's not about earning in the first job. It's about learning in the first job, because that learning will give you the base. And if the base is strong, you can have amazing career ahead of you. And if the first job is not giving you learning, and if it is not giving you strong wings, you will not be able to fly high. So actually, I'll say one thing, that in Infosys, maybe you've heard about our Mysore University and the solid training base we give to our trainees who join us from campus. And that's why I feel that the training itself is so good that many of them, just after training, if they put their profile on any of the job portal, they will get at least 100%. And I tell them that is because of the value that Infosys has added. That is the training. So imagine if you work, how much more value you get. So this is my experience, that first job, whatever it is, if you don't have option, whatever you have, take it and convert it into opportunity. Open doors for yourself, but take that job. And second is, if you have option, go for the one which is more learning than earning.
Excellent, ma'am. I think step one is see what comes your way and then take that up. And then step two is that find what learning is there out of it and make the best out of it, because it's just a starting point. There are a lot of things to be done as you go on. So I hand it back to Professor Rao. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you. I must, yes, please.
There's a question which is asked in the question and answer, and then it has come again in the comment, which says one advice for all the young generation and one book that you suggest everyone to read. Can I take that question?
Please.
So one advice for the young generation. I know now this program is not really for the young generation, but if I had to give for the young generation one advice, I'll say it doesn't matter where you started, like where you come from. What was your background, where you came from, educated family, uneducated family, what was it, which school you studied, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are today. Seriously, it doesn't matter where you are today. You have the job in hand, you don't have the job in hand, what technology you know, what skills you know, doesn't matter. What matters is what is the dream and what is the vision you have for yourself? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Where are you headed? And are you ready to work hard and smart to get there? Do you have it in you to passionately work to get where you want to go? Or you're going to carry that bag, oh, I come from this school, I can't speak English, or I don't have a vehicle to go somewhere. So it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter where you are today. The only thing which matters is what is your vision for yourself and are you ready to slog for it? That will define the future. That's the one advice. And one book. This is one book which I read and I'm doing lots of study in this area. That is how the brain and the subconscious mind and how does it all conspire. And I wish I knew about it 2 decades back. And it is The Power of Subconscious Mind. So that book, I hope people read it. And I hope they read it early in their career than at my kind of stage.
Awesome. I think you have given a lots of tips to the aspiring leaders. I think this is the purpose of this whole conversation. We are extremely happy that we've been able to go over these practical points. It is more practical than preachy. I mean, that's the summary of this session. And it's extremely useful to all the members. If I can capture in about a minute or two some of the take-home points, it will be like this. One overriding theme that this session and your talk is making, ma'am, is to question oneself, is this enough to become the CXO? Is this enough to go to the top? Is this enough to be a leader? I think that question at every level is making you think about yourself and think about your role and contribution, and then provide answers accordingly. Whatever you know in terms of technologies, you will keep yourself abreast with various other technologies that are emerging, and ask yourself, is this enough? Do I invest more in myself? I think that's where it begins. And then you will keep on asking, is this enough that I attend meetings like a warm body, but not prepared to contribute? Is this enough for me to get noticed if I keep my mouth shut? Is this enough for me to say yes and nod my head? Is this enough for me not to network and speak beyond my group? Is this enough for me to be an opposition party, or simply, why should I have all difficulties? I'll just say yes, and yes, sir, it is great. All things are good. Ma'am, whatever you're proposing is fantastic. So how do I stay in between and walk the line of truth? Is this enough to take extremes, or is this enough for me to just be one among the crowd? I think these are important questions of handling feedback and generating trust among your leaders, that your feedback counts and it matters, like the way you have practiced yourself in your own career. I think your definition for creating that first impression or a lasting impression by simple tips are extremely fine. Is this just enough for me to get dressed and go to the meeting, or the way I walk? It's just not enough. You have to walk very consciously and carefully so that your attitude is displayed in your walk, talk, and the way you dress, in your dress and your address. I think that is something which you have provoked us to think about. All the budding leaders will also do well if they manage to cultivate a nice relationship with all these senior leaders, always worry in spite of challenges. There could be challenges of role stagnation. There could be challenges of you being kept in abeyance for some time because of organizational reasons. But how one persists, how one builds resilience, and how one actually cultivates that patience to bounce back and always have that contributory mindset. So that's extremely important. So is this enough to go to office every day or contribute? Is this enough to get a raise in my pay, or is this enough to get a new designation? I think the answer is it is important to contribute. It is important to be recognized. It's important to be appreciated. It's important to see the enablers, and leaders are waiting to create that enablement, definitely. Otherwise, they will not be in their position. We're very, very simple math. It is. Is it enough? Is it enough to be knowing technologies? Is it enough to be part of for example, a background? You come from a very good institution, and therefore, is that enough? No, it's not enough. You have to be empathetic. You have to read the relevant situations appropriately and create your own small but effective personal branding. Is it enough that you have all reasons to satisfy yourself, and your family and friends will say, oh, because of these reasons, you are not growing? Is this enough? No. It is important for us to tell ourselves that we may be down for some time, but not out. That ability to bounce back is extremely important. The ability to think that your work will do the talking will not help you. I think you will end up being the best kept secret in your own organization, and probably buried in the organization. You should not be a secret. You should be most visible. Is it enough to be earning more? No. It is important that you get noticed and you go to the top. So that is the summary of this whole conversation. And there are many other points which we will summarize and share with our participants. I can keep on talking about it because I am enjoying it. I'm sure all the members in the audience also have enjoyed. One point, ma'am, I would like to take is Ramesh Singham Garu is still talking. Very nice. He's so participative. Even beyond the session, he will keep on sharing suggestions to us. Keep writing to us, sir. We like it. Ma'am, you have finished your engineering and then your MBA, and then there's a gap of 11 to 13 years. After that, you started some serious career in IT, but you have also gone and educated yourself in leadership programs from Stanford and MIT, two of the most prestigious institutions in the world. I'm sure you also mentioned during your talk that one of the best things that you recognize their aspiration and also take action is not just in terms of giving them a designation or pay rise, but also help them in learning a little more. They can become MBAs. You mentioned that. They can learn, they can go for a role change, they can get an exposure to a new subject or a unit. I think in this context, I wanted to mention that we have, I think Professor Prasad is the right person to say this. He is heading the online MBA program, which we launched very recently. Lots of working executives are joining this program from across the country. I think they have a fantastic method of looking at all these working professionals and customizing and personalizing our course curriculum in a manner that it is easier for them and helps them actually complete their MBA program. If you get a good MBA program for a reputed institution like we all do, then I think your career progression, ability to understand and appreciate and implement those things in your work life will be much easier. I'm sure Professor Prasad will have a word or two to say on this, on how we are personalizing our own MBA program in terms of practicum to each and every working executive. Over to you, Professor Prasad, and then we'll probably close it after that.
Thank you, Professor Rao. I think it is the same principle that we discussed earlier. We have to understand the context. The context is more important than the content today. Earlier it was said content is the king, but context is the queen and the queen rules. So one has to understand the context. So if you look at people who are working, they are essentially trying to pick up a degree because they have understood in their working life that this is essential. They need to do this. And so they are trying to see how they can leverage their work experience, even sometimes subconsciously and sometimes unconsciously. Sometimes they don't know it. Maybe they're looking at a degree, but the fact remains that you will be able to learn more if you're able to relate it to your work experience and your background. So if you put that as a framework of your context, work experience has all the practice that you want to convert it into what we need into our conceptual framework. There's nothing new that we have in conceptual frameworks. So I think if we are able to enable that as faculty, as mentors, and help students to find meaning in their experience from a managerial framework, I think we have done our work. Not that it is easy. There's a lot of work which goes into that. And I hope we are going in the right direction.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, ma'am. On that note, I'm extremely happy to wrap it up. This session has been a session of not just finding faults, but this is about giving them a ray of hope and building the leadership ladder for all organizations, including yours and mine. So thank you very much for this time and expertise. And I am indebted to you. I can't thank you enough for your energy and time and patience in handling all these questions and making everyone happy during the Q&A session as well. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to tell one thing, that I never enjoyed a session more than this, because the way Prasad Garu and Sudhakar Garu are really asking nice questions. They're not like to test me. They're here to have a dialogue. And that I really appreciate and thank you for that. For me also, talking to you for 2 hours was a pleasure. And I hope to contribute to ICFAI in future. Please involve me if there's anything that is there, because it's a really nice team to work with. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for volunteering. I think we live in Hyderabad, a Hyderabad that is so beautiful and beautifully raining throughout the day today. We will hopefully connect with you at your campus. I will visit you, and some of my colleagues also will call on you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We will invite you to our campus. Our campus is not as big as yours, but we have a decent 100-acre campus at Shankarpalli in Hyderabad, apart from 11 other universities in the country and 9 business schools. We are totally about 20 institutions in 16 states. So we hope to stay connected with you, a person who has given us so many actionable recommendations today. We stand to gain. We would love to learn more from you, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you. And thank you to the participants, especially the ones who are still there after 2 hours.
Yes.
Thank you.
So is this the Friday evening that you were looking for? I hope this was very, very useful, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for staying through and asking those interesting questions. Some of you have actually come back in spite of some technical glitch that you had experienced personally to actually interact with the guest and the speaker here. And your contribution has spurred several important takeaways, not only for the participants, but even for the host, for the entire organization, for all of us here. But on that count, I must tell you that we'll be back on the next Friday on July 15th with yet another leader. The name of the leader is Suhasini Haidar. She's a diplomatic editor from The Hindu. She's going to talk about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and she will assess what is its impact on global economy, and she will also assess India's policy. So stay tuned. Join us back on July 15th, Friday at 4 p.m. Till then, do take care and measure your own progress on the compass of leadership from both the sides of the table, and keep enjoying your work life as advised by our most gifted leader that we have today. Thank you all. Thank you very much, and see you next Friday.